Hello, everyone. Again, we have some technical issues, but no worries. We'll sort this out for the next time. But welcome to another exciting Lighthouse Live. And if you have been here before, like last week, then you know what this is all about. If you haven't, this is a live show for Lighthouse Academy where we host different people from AI landscape, uh, tech artists, and thought leaders to chat about AI stuff. And this session, particularly, is intended for all architects. If you've been here last week, you've seen that we can approach the architecture ideations on many levels. We checked out June's workflows, and this time, the focus will be on Comfy and Maggot's approach.
Yes, sir.
So you probably know both June and Maggot. They have been both OGs when it comes to AI and architecture. They have developed a lot of interesting workflows, interesting ideas, and been leveraging their knowledge in business. So this is your chance to see how this week, you have a chance to see how the Comfy is being integrated in the architecture approach. So Maggot, without any, um, without further ado, the word is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, hello, everyone. And first of all, to whoever who managed to make it on the Zoom link, we thank you so much. And also, if any of you also attended the last session, a very special thank you, by the way, because last time's attendance, it was phenomenal, and I really enjoyed that session. June did a perfect job at like presenting the course content and like the structure of the course, and also like just the attendance was very, very good. Like I think it was one of the best live sessions that I've from my side that I've done on LinkedIn, and I'm very grateful for it. That being said, let's go ahead and kind of follow up on the same kind of narrative that June was constructing in the last session. And this time I'm going to be showcasing how this sort of, let's say, workflow can be continued and, let's say, presented through the lens and through the platform of ComfyUI, as just adding a new tool to your tool belt to see how you can also play in another sandbox. I have already educated myself on the different screen sharing techniques, so it's not gonna it's not gonna take long this time. But also let me know in case you guys see the presentation. Is it
Yes.
in full screen mode?
With the slide now it's full screen. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. It just takes a bit of time, but perfect. Yeah. So once again, it's simply like a continuation of the same methods that June has presented in the last session, but this time we show it on the platform of ComfyUI. And first, also like a little bit more information about the course, because I've got a couple of questions about the course information. Well, we want to make it more of a studio experience, and it's going to be a 2-week live studio that will focus on first, let's say, presenting the material in the form of a masterclass session, preceded by or succeeded by a 3-hour hands-on session. And it's basically going to be 2 weeks. So Wednesdays are going to be the masterclass sessions, and then it will be followed up by on Saturdays 3-hour hands-on work sessions that will be 3 hours. So basically, it's going to be one session and then 3 hours, and then another session, and then like a 3-hour session, just to kind of like test it out. And it's going to be more hands-on and more kind of like of a two-way conversation. So this is more or less the definition of why it's a studio rather than, let's say, a more traditional course, more or less. So this is for the studio. And from my side, my name is Elbanna. I am an architect. I'm like classically trained architect with a great interest into computational design. And this interest kind of like very naturally started to develop when the whole new wave of AI started to become more trendy and more popular, because a lot of the topics that you work in computational design flow very nicely into the same kind of like mentality of working also AI and machine learning into data and architecture. I'm currently based in Hamburg, and I have like an international experience working with different in different contexts in different countries. And I have been very interested in also utilizing AI as a tool to boost your work process, which is also very similar to what June has presented last time. I think on that we have a lot of in our methodologies, a lot of these kind of like AI as a tool term would align quite often in the course and in the studio experience. I've collaborated with several companies and universities too, also for research purposes and work purposes. This one is going to be, as we said, would be on the Lighthouse Academy platform. And for this course, I will be your ComfyUI guide. It's just taking a little bit. It's
As
perfect.
always, it's comfy.
Even the presentation, the PDF. So what is ComfyUI? ComfyUI, I would like to think of it always as a very open, like it's open source, but it's at the same time a very open visual programming platform that you can use for practically anything you can think of. Of course, it has developed, let's say, with primarily generative AI models in mind and for inferring these models. However, it is genuinely a tool that can be used for pretty much anything that you can think of. Of course, we're going to be using it for let's say the profession of architecture. So we're going to be more or less focusing on using it as a tool to generate visualization and ideation techniques and different, let's say, how you can do adjustments and use it as a tool for quick adjustments in your work. And this openness makes it a perfect tool for different use cases. So you can also use it, as we said, for ideation, for example, a very simple example being from text to image. Another example being from image, and by proxy also you'd always have kind of like a sort of prompt running in the background, also like kind of guiding the generation process, but you can also have it image to image. You can even add like a more or like a deeper layer of control by adding more guidance images that's going to be working as the structure that will guide the generated result. I'd like to think of it as, let's say, you're thinking about the composition of the image. However, you can describe exactly what's going to be filling up this composition. You can also use it as a very good tool for variation, to just explore variations or do adjustments in your design. So for example, in this design, where on this facade right here, I had like a couple of, or like wooden lamella on this part of the facade. And I wanted to kind of do a quick adjustment to see what it would look like if I, let's say, added a very silly brick wall in this area. Or for example, just to add a dog in the scene. So if you're a dog person, this course is for you. And yeah, you can even like change the position of items within your scene. You can completely let go of the dog and then replace it with a garage in your ground floor. So as you can see that even though like in your design process, when you, for example, like consider in the ground floor, you would like to replace or let's say section off part of your ground floor and you want it to be just dedicated as a garage. So in this case, you can just easily go to your rendering and then highlight the area that you want to edit and then say, like you would want a garage here that kind of flows nicely with the already existing design. And you can even change the design of this garage. I just like kind of go for, yes?
Megan, maybe you're showing something else, but we are seeing about the studio slide.
Ah, so the whole time it was stuck on the first.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well. Okay. Just give me a second.
I
Wow.
thought we can visualize all these things through your talking,
Yeah,
Megan.
I did.
You guys must have had very good imagination this whole time. Okay, in this case, I can maybe go through it and let's first check. Can you guys see the next slide now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, in this case, maybe I can present it in this form.
All right.
So yeah, so maybe just very briefly, once again, it's about just talking quickly about the studio and why we call it a studio. It's because it has more hands-on part. So it's going to be a mixture between master classes that we're going to be having on Wednesdays and co-working sessions, which is going to be like more hands-on work. That is going to be more on Saturdays, and it would be a bit longer, so 3 hours instead of the 2 hours for the master classes. So it's basically going to be like going through the material and then having these hands-on sessions afterwards for more kind of like a live interaction. And for me, my name is Elbanna. I kind of like also went briefly through kind of like a bit of an introduction. And yep, once again, I'll be your ComfyUI guide. And we kind of like quickly explained what ComfyUI is. And maybe once again, now that we have this slide in front of us, it's more or less kind of like a visual programming. If people here already have experience in maybe computational design or working with Grasshopper, you probably already have an experience with this type of user interfaces. So you can think of it more or less as a very open sandbox that you can use to build your own workflow and use whatever models you want, whether locally or connected online with another, let's say, online service. So it's pretty much an open sandbox that you can use to do whatever you can think of. And for this makes it a perfect tool for many use cases that's going to be very relevant for us as architects. So for example, simple ideation where you put a prompt, and I intentionally kind of like wrote this prompt in this very kind of structured way so that because this is something that we probably highlight also later, the more structured your prompt is, the more you would have more control over the final result. And being able, especially with the newer models, being able to also maybe do ideation without having the image or the generated image veer too much off of what you were expecting. And also maybe a quick check. You guys are seeing the slides moving now so far. Is that correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Also, another way to kind of like ideate would be to use an image as an input. So instead of just using pure text, you can just go ahead and input an image, and then you can use this image just to kind of like use it as a base so that you can build on. Of course, with the help or with the additional guidance of a text to tell it exactly what you want to see in the image, would it like maybe the environment, the type of materials you want to have on your building and your facade, and so forth. And for also another form of ideation can be that you would take, let's say, the composition of one image. So you break down some of its guidance images. This is also something that we would explore more deeply. But you can kind of grab these sort of elemental images that more or less kind of is a breakdown of the components or the structure of an image. And you can use these sorts of images to generate something on the right. And therefore, you kind of like have more room also to have more variations just by kind of grabbing the composition of one image and then applying something completely different on the generated result. And especially with the development of newer models, it's also like we're going to be exploring how you can use this tool for adjustment, for variation, for exploring different ways of let's say to maybe make adjustments on an already existing rendering, or even generate different variations of an existing let's say design. So it can be something, for example, as changing an element in the facade. So I wanted to replace this part with a wooden lamella that I see here, and I just wanted to replace it with kind of like a brick wall. And it's just as simple as highlighting an area and just like writing exactly what I want to see. And here, for example, I also wanted to add something a little bit more fun. So I decided maybe in the composition, I wanted to have like a pet dog sitting here. So I kind of like, reverted the design back to its original form into this kind of like concrete, sort of like, mixture of metal, glass, and concrete building, a little bit more brutalist. But then I added this dog here on the left-hand side. I didn't really like the position of the dog, so I just started to kind of experiment a little bit more. So basically, I bet this is more or less the part where you guys were very confused when I was saying, like, this course is for dog people, or like people who are
exactly.
and you were like, what?
I was like, yes.
You were like, I don't know what's going on, but sure.
But dogs always, yes.
Yeah, so it's just give me a second. I think my camera actually just slipped. Nice. Perfect. And yeah, and this can be used. So just kind of like as a way to quickly showcase the sort of like, the malleability, or like, let's say, the freedom that you have when you work with these types of tools. Um, and also, like, if you decide to maybe change your ground floor, and then you decided to kind of like portion off a part of your ground floor and you wanted to make it a dedicated garage, and you changed it in your floor plans, but you haven't had the time to actually change it in your rendering. So you can just kind of like quickly sketch up something here, and then you can just choose the area that you want to change, and then you have your new garage space, and then maybe you don't like this design, and then you can actually switch it to something different. So as you can see, it's a very nice tool for ideation and just like for quickly exploring different variations, and just like adjusting on your already existing material. And also the good thing about it is that it doesn't really affect the final result, or it doesn't really how would you call it? Like it doesn't really um, um, like change too much of the features of your image, if not at all. Like it seems like a very seamless change, which is probably also like maybe if this is your first introduction to generative AI, would be nothing really out of the ordinary, but compared to older models, where if you do a change, it would practically change a lot of the entire image every time that you generate something. These newer models have a much better understanding of context, and generate much better coherence when you try to make changes with these new models. And also another example of which is that with this design, for example, where I had this kind of like very kind of like red colored brick panels, and I wanted to kind of change the material quickly, and I just prompted in that I wanted to change the facade, and you can tell that practically nothing changed in the image except for the facade, and this is a massive improvement than before. Um, and this is also a third material. This one is also quite interesting because here to generate this image, I actually gave it my own texture. So I downloaded a specific wood texture, and I gave it this wood texture, which was actually supposed to be for interior finishing, but I just kind of told it, here, just use this texture and apply it on this facade. And it was like, yeah, all right, well, whatever you say. And it just like applied a very kind of interior finish to this exterior material.
I have a small question, Maggot.
Absolutely. Yep.
Um, what are the techniques that I can use to precisely choose the regions that I want to edit?
So with let's say flagship models from say like Google Gemini 3, you can be very let's say rough with your selection. So you can basically the way that I do it is that I highlight the area, and I can also show you like maybe on a live example how something like this
Okay.
can be done. But it's just basically kind of like highlighting an area and then typing down what you want to change in this highlighted area. And it has a very high, like let's say, contextual awareness when it comes to what it sees. So it knows what you want to change and what you want to keep. And it usually doesn't really, let's say, overflow or let's say seep into other elements in your image. However,
Okay.
there are also, let's say, other techniques that you can use to segment the image and make it select
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you want, like pixel perfect, and you only apply your changes on the selected area. However, I would just like argue that with the advent of these new models, I would say that these types of techniques are becoming more and more obsolete, but not
Okay.
entirely without use. Like it still would be of use, but these new models are proving to be very, very intelligent when it comes to these types of use cases. Um, Also for this one, like this is supposed to be a video here, so I probably would invoke again your imagination to imagine a video happening on the right-hand side.
Okay.
I think I can also grab a video because I have it here. I have it saved here. So basically the idea is that you can use this sort of like generated variation or variant that we have here, and you can use it as an entry point to have something like this. Just a second. I think I would have to share the video player. Huh,
Are you
here.
sharing another screen?
Very shortly, I will. So I'm going
Okay.
to be sharing media player here and here. So you guys are seeing the media player, is that correct?
Yes, I am looking at still an image.
Still image, okay. So it should be here
Okay,
and
yeah, it's moving. Yeah. It's moving
exactly.
slowly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think there could be also problems with the way that, yeah, now I think some of the issues are now gone. But
Okay.
maybe more or less, you can have something like this where you can have like an image and then you kind of like you want to make your presentation more lively. Yeah, and it's a bit of a shame because like I was trying so much to fit it on the presentation, but I couldn't get it to work with the PDF format to have like this video, and I always had issues with it.
Yeah.
But it looked very nice when it was kind of like moving on the slideshow, and it was so it's a very good way, generally speaking, to also kind of like have these sort of like yeah, like moving or kind of like moving still images more or less, and something that like I think maybe all of us we've already seen a lot of things going on LinkedIn and a lot of people testing with video models and things like that, and they already are improving when it comes to, let's say, fast movement or action-based movement. So for us architects, we don't really need that much. We need kind of like these slow and very moody and very kind of like,
Y-
how would you call it? Like, yeah, in like it's
Like,
really atmospheric
yeah,
sort
from
of.
frame to frame, a little bit like pixelated or just images that are like moving like slides, but in a faster way. So these are the things actually might be one of the interests
True,
of.
true. Because the movement in architecture is usually, yeah, like very kind of cinematic. It's just like something very simple, panning, zooming, stuff like this. So in these kind of like cases, the AI models, or let's say the video models, do a very good job at kind of making the motion look very natural.
Yeah.
Um, and in my opinion, like it only maybe starts to fail a little bit once you have something that moves very rapidly or very quickly.
Yeah.
I can now switch back to the other
Slides.
exactly right here.
Okay.
All right. So, and also, actually, that's about it. So now, just like I kind of like a bit of a final thought. So, what is generative AI? Because it looks like a very massive black box at this point, but the technology behind it is very fascinating. And even though it is science, but it feels a lot like magic. And like the graph that you're seeing right now, it's basically the graph that kind of like more or less summarizes how the stable diffusion model works and all the technologies that were involved in making the whole thing work together. So it's very fascinating stuff, and I think it's a very interesting time also to be alive and to experience these new technologies come to life and their integration into many different fields. And of course, what we're doing with this course is that we're showcasing a lot of its use cases and its explorations within the field of architecture. And yeah, this is kind of what we wanted to maybe show with this kind of like very, very humble slideshow. It's kind of like to showcase how these use cases can be applied. And in this case, on a very open and very playful sandbox such as ComfyUI. Um, if we would be having some time to maybe showcase, because I wanted to maybe once again also
I
showcase.
think, yes, I think we do have some time.
Perfect. So in this case, I can also just to so that people familiarize themselves a little bit more with the interface of ComfyUI.
Mhm.
Let's go ahead and
Many people are
are
still a little bit freaked out with the pipelines, nodes,
very
and all this.
understandable. It's yeah, it's very understandable, and like it's more or less once you understand the kind of like the philosophy behind this visual programming sort of interface, and that every one of those is basically its own kind of like it's a little command, but instead of making the command and then forgetting about what you've just typed, you moved an object, so it happened in the past and it's kind of like forgotten. You can think of it more as commands, but instead of the command just happening in the moment, it just is represented as a node, and this node does something, and you can combine different things together so you can eventually have something happening in the end. So something like this can be a very simple tool. For example, here I have my very structured sort of like simple prompt that I have for generating or ideating. So for example, I want to kind of like explore a specific architectural style. So I can just type my prompt here, and it's as simple as running the model, and it will do all the work for me. And this is as simple as this. So for example, I can, yeah, just for example, change one part of this kind of like model, sorry, the prompt that I have here. I prepared also a quick list of different things that we can test. So for example, I wanted to, because I'm always very interested into, let's say, African vernacular architecture. And it's a very, of course, like, it's a very much, pretty much an umbrella term that has a lot of different motifs inside of it, but it's always interesting to kind of like start from something big, and then you try over time to focus more and more into something that is more precise. And yeah, so for example, something like this. Hmm. I think, yeah, but maybe part of the, yeah, because the materials that I'm using are a little bit counterintuitive. Maybe if I just simplified the prompt into something that's a bit more concise. So something like this. Perfect. All right. So something like this. Because part of the prompt was basically saying, yeah, it's let's say like steel and glass and like kind of like clean materials, which is very synonymous with modern architecture, but at the same time I had like let's say African architecture, so this is why it collided a little bit. But as you can see, it's just as simple as having your tool that connects to a specific model, and then you can type in your prompt, adjust your prompt, and then running this sort of open canvas, and then you can kind of like explore a little bit. So now you have something that's a little bit closer to what you want, and then you can explore from there. You can also see different, every time you hit run, you can also see different variations of it. So this is kind of like also a quick way to describe something you want to see. You can even change the lighting, because there is like a specific part for lighting that I have here, and I kind of wrote here that it's like a sunset golden hour with strong reflections. So you can see that it's very much trying to follow what I'm trying to say with this kind of like golden hour with strong reflections that's trying to highlight the facade. Um, so yeah, like very interesting stuff to kind of just sit around and ideate with something like this. Of course, there is also like multiple things that you can do. For example, this is a very sort of like simple workflow that I built, which is the one that I briefly mentioned. Here this should show the result, but instead I've already loaded the results that were already done. So these were my inputs. So I basically have this image of this building, and I applied this texture, which was actually a flooring texture. Excuse me. So it's actually just like, simple flooring texture. And it generated something like this from this image. And the cool thing is that you can see that it only changes what it wants to change.
Did you apply an action prompt for that?
So the type of prompt in this case is more or less an action prompt. Yeah. So in this case, I
Okay.
would say something like change the building facade material to wooden planks similar to the reference texture. So in this case, you have to be also precise about the action itself that has to happen. But the newer models have a much better understanding of the elements of the image because of the way that they're trained, and they are able to change what they see according to the type of input that you get, and they understand also images much better. Another, perhaps also like a very interesting workflow that I was tinkering around with was this very simple workflow where I would just like basically sketch. So I had the literally paintbrush open on another screen, and I would just basically sketch, just do very simple doodles, and it would kind of like generate almost in real time speed the changes that I'm doing. And
Wow.
then, and I can also kind of like use it to upscale, like I can also upscale the result, but upscaling would take a bit of time and loading and stuff. But yeah, it's more or less, maybe I'll see if I can. Well,
Uh,
it's going to be a bit tricky because it's going to be kind of like a share screen within a shared screen. So yeah,
okay.
it would be a bit tricky, but yeah, more or less, it kind of like I literally just made this little doodle, and then yeah, it kind of like generated this result based off of what I just kind of like quickly sketched. So as you can see, like once you have the building blocks, you can make your own sort of like very custom-made workflow that does something that you are more used to work with. Um, and yeah, like maybe we can leave a bit of time also for open talk and questions.
Yeah, I mean, this is really interesting because I think everyone knows that I'm a lot using the web-based models. And
Mhm.
of course, I have a base knowledge on using Comfy as well. But when looking at that, actually, I can see the difference of sometimes when you applied, let's say in this case, putting a doodle and describing it with some text prompts, and you get what something like visualize or in a photorealistic render um, from what you prompted. But I can see actually there are a lot of flexibilities or freedom of creating from your side rather than using a web-based tool sometimes because it gives me maybe not so much of choices of parameters or maybe really it is kind of straightforward, not so much of like AI strength or CFG, those kind of parameters for me to choose. But for me, sometimes it's about what I want to get. When I have a concept and I have all the keywords I want to test on, maybe I would test on 100 images and get only one image that I really want. But how
Mm.
actually is and when it goes to let's say a student or beginner who wants to start with generative AI for architectural thinking or design or visualizations, what actually um, is that the way actually they should always go to the web-based models and try it at first with all these like Midjourney stuffs and later on they go to ComfyUI for is it something like or the other way around? What do you think?
I think starting from web UI is definitely the best approach. And I think that this is more or less also how like maybe, I don't, yeah, maybe even coincidentally, so that we built the course actually like that. So you would start with web UI, let's say tools or tools that have a clean sort of defined web UI, and then you can use it to test specific let's say predefined workflows or use cases, and you just ideate and you use it for the intended purpose.
Hmm.
And basically showing something like this, it's merely a way to say that you have seen all of these tools and you have seen what these tools can do. All what you can do with ComfyUI right now is that you can put these multiple, let's say, modules and connect them together so that you can have one line kind of like producing one thing, and then another module would take this result and then kind of do something else with it. So a very simple example is what we have right here. So say you already have showcased a web UI that does just that. So you give it kind of like a sketch and it generates a result. And you also showcased another web UI tool that upscales an image. What I have done here is that I basically combine this with this, and you can think of it as these kind of like building blocks. And you can even kind of like, once you're done, you're like, okay, this is my workflow here. I grab this and you can just literally convert it to a subgraph. And then you can just pack the whole thing into kind of like one, which is actually what's happening here. So if you open this, this is actually like a lot is going on inside, but you can do the logic and then you can collapse this logic into one unit, and this can be built upon later. So in my opinion, it's actually a bit of a circular thing where even if when I work on ComfyUI and I try to build something, the process itself can take some time until I finish the logic. But eventually, I want to pack this whole thing into something very usable and
Hmm.
very defined and very user friendly. And I kind of circle back into something that almost resembles a web UI, because there is no use for a workflow if it's too complicated or it
Yeah.
doesn't look very user friendly to, because eventually you want something like this to be used either by you or by your team, or perhaps even as a tool that you would want to maybe sell or produce as a product later on. So this
Okay.
is why I think it's a bit of a circular thing. So you test with the tools, you understand the logic, you understand the different concepts, you understand how you can actually mix and match these together, and then eventually you can create your own custom-made workflow.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. I
yeah,
think that's the best thing like when you have a team and the team members actually they can reuse they can reuse
Yeah.
the workflow that we have created within the team environment. So that's, I think, one of the best reason that why we want to use Comfy. And I think we have a few questions in the comments. So Mohammad Arsam was asking which one is best, N8N or ComfyUI?
So N8N or ComfyUI.
Is that a
N-
different
It's
thing?
it is a very different, like, here's the thing. You can technically use N8N almost for the same things that you would have in ComfyUI. But N88 in sorry, N8N, or I've heard a lot of people actually say Nathan, N8N, Nathan,
Mm-hmm.
which I think actually is the why they named it like that. It's a bit of a wordplay. So it is something that is more used. I'm talking about in 8N. It's something that's more used for building a very kind of open workflow that can include so many things that are not limited to like image generation or video generation at all. If anything, it is more or less, you can think of it as a hub that you can use to control data flow, whatever this data can be, and to communicate with different softwares APIs. So you can maybe use it to take a look at your Gmail, grab your emails, and then whenever it has emails that has, let's say, specific times or specific dates, it can highlight these dates and then maybe make a calendar entry, and it would basically be your calendar sort of AI agent. So it's a much more holistic concept, and it works on a much bigger sort of like level, which can
Yeah.
like basically it can connect with everything, including some of the AI sort of services. It can connect with
Mm-hmm.
their API, and it can more or less be used as something like this. You can make it send the prompt for you and receive the information from this API. ComfyUI, however, was built with these sorts of like stable diffusion models initially, and it was built with this sort of direction model, with inferring
Mm-hmm.
these image generation models. So this is going to be much more easier to work with. If like with ComfyUI, it's going to be much more easier when we are going to kind of showcase our like different kind of like methods, because it's more or
Mm-hmm.
less is better at dealing with this data. But yeah,
You don't
it's
have to be like an expert on talking about N8N because the topic actually today, or what actually we're going to teach, is all about image generation,
true,
right? Generative AI, how actually we visualize all these things using the AI models that we have locally or on the web. So that's, I mean,
true, true,
yeah, within
true.
the topic. But I'm looking at some images on in the comment that someone is asking you. Paul Obinati was asking something like, "Is this a subgraph?" and pointing to your
Hmm.
node.
I see. Let's see what. That's a very small image, but yeah, this is actually a subgraph. Correct. So
Okay.
this is more or less kind of like a collection of nodes. They do a specific, like they do, like let's say more or less, they grab the image information, they process it a certain way, they do the sampling, and they on the other end they just like give me an image, and so I just compress the whole thing into just one simple block right here. This is this subgraph node, and you just see the input and the output, and you don't think too much about the in-between process anymore.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Okay. So the next one. Fatma Ibrahim has two questions. The first one, would
Hmm.
you recommend starting with a certain web-based model to start with before going into ComfyUI? Is free pick a good option, for
Actually,
example?
I would leave this question to you. I think you would have a better answer.
Oh, okay. Um, I we have just now discussed about this, like what's much more like a much better using Comfy first or web-based platforms first. If you are a total beginner, then you don't want to look at complicated things like, oh, how to set up this, what's the back end work, what's the
Hmm.
architecture behind all these things, like Latin noises, and so all these words and terms, which is giving you like, don't screw up. Just go to Midjourney if you like it. if you like free pick or VV or whatever you can see on the internet, or even just go jump into Gemini Nano Banana Pro, just click on it, just start to prompt for something. Just start, you don't have to really like think of what to do. But after some time, or when you look at some examples in the internet, search, look at YouTube and how people do prompt for good images, and later on, actually, when you grab that concept, and when you're familiar with things like this, and when you want to go further, then ComfyUI is an absolute choice for you to understand what's actually behind. Because from understanding the basics behind, and you can expand it with beyond your imagination, I would say. There are a lot of things actually you can expand from the base Comfy models
Oh
I
yeah,
can see. Yeah.
absolutely.
So, and the next one, I think question number 2 is, have we reached a stage where we can do a project 100% in AI without relying on traditional 3D software or massing like Revit, for example?
Well, I mean, this kind of like tackles also another deeper level because we're covering the ideation part. So far, when it comes to ideation part, it is a massive boost. Like it definitely is a big boost. However, in order for you to finalize a project, you would have to have the model be capable of understanding architecture information and architecture knowledge and be able to digest it exactly how an architect does. And this is a very tough task actually, because architecture information is very tough to kind of like train on a model because
Yes.
it's spatial information, it's relational information. Like this room has to be next to this room. This room contains this piece of furniture. This wall is like let's say on the or bordering this area, or a window is in a wall, etc. So it's actually a very kind of very complicated sort of like data. However, it can be so that in the future, when we manage to make AI models, if so, that yes, there could be a moment where an AI agent is capable of reasoning an entire building, just kind of thinking about how the kind of the fundament, the foundations is gonna look like, and the kind of according to the soil, I don't know, properties and so forth, and just like build from there. So
Yeah.
but so far, I wouldn't say that it's like 100%, not even close. Like still, we have to rely on traditional 3D software because you have to
Hmm.
know your massing, you have to know your components. Buildings are a big responsibility. It's not something that can just be kind of like let completely for the whims of an AI model. But yeah.
Yeah, very good. So, um, can other web-based models be used in ComfyUI?
Yes. So, for example, just right here, like I have this Nano Banana Pro, which is Gemini
Hmm.
3. So this is a node that calls to the API. Whenever I mention the word API, it basically means like the handshake. So it goes, hey, Google, finish
And
this
grab
task.
it.
Exactly correct. So it
Yeah.
finished this task and then it grabs the result and then sends it back to you. So it's kind of like a middleman. So it can be used like within this. And this is also one of the things that's very nice about ComfyUI is that like you literally think
Hmm.
of this sort of like nice open grid. And I think I
Hmm.
actually also kind of like mentioned that I would showcase how this thing works. You actually, it was your question, Jude. You said like how something like this was done. Well,
Yes. Yeah. I was like really curious on seeing how actually you do that.
absolutely. I just go in here and then like I within ComfyUI, the people at Photopia were very kind enough to also include it as part of ComfyUI. So you
Photopea.
can, yeah, Photopea. I thought it was Photopia, like Utopia, but just with photo. And I create a new layer. I literally just highlight the image. So just with a nice brush, just can the brush
Select the brush
cooperate?
size. Hmm.
Yeah, just like to make it nice and neat. So maybe you can also adjust the opacity so that it can also see what's underneath it. So let's set it to 70% and let's adjust something. What would you like to have?
Oh, up to you. I leave it to
Okay.
you.
Okay, in this, you know what? Let's make some hanging plants. So, for
Hmm.
example, let's say in this part right here, just using my trusty mouse, I'm just gonna highlight this area. And then,
Yeah. So this is it, that we don't have to really like choose it accurately, the
no,
area, right? All
no,
right.
not at all. Because the models are intelligent enough to know the context, to
Mm,
understand that this is a building and this is part of the facade and so forth. Because the way they're trained, it's very intelligent.
okay.
So in this case, I just start by saying edit the highlighted area, and I already have a system prompt which is preset by Google, but
Mm,
sorry, maybe actually the people at ComfyUI are preset this, but I also edit this prompt so that it does more precisely what I want it to do. So I kind of like wrote a system AI to be more or less an image editor, not an image generator. And then I
okay.
would say something along the lines of create a
Uh,
trellis with hanging
plants.
plants with lush hanging plants on it, just to kind of like, give it more volume. And let's just see how it works. Let's just run it.
Sometimes I don't like the word lush because it's kind to like, overgrown.
I see what you mean. Okay, just
Sometimes. I'm not sure about the if those latest AI models is going to like, a little
hmm.
bit more control or not making too much greenery.
I see. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe coming from like the oh yeah, you're absolutely
Ah, right?
right.
Yeah. I
You're
think I have
absolutely right.
so much experience with like the
True,
word
true.
lush.
All right. Let's dial it down a notch. Simple with hanging plants. With simple hanging plants.
Let's see. This
All
is
right,
really
all right.
fun.
It went a little bit over, but let's check it out. Let's check out the result. All right. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
as you
but this
can
is the
see,
fun of
like,
this is the
yeah, I
fun
mean, like,
playing all this.
true. It didn't really adhere to the highlighted area. That's true. But maybe at the same time, writing something like lush has kind of like made it exaggerate the result of it. So maybe
Yeah.
you're right. I mean, it's a combination. First of all, like
Hmm.
it is kind of oh, well, I mean, it
Okay.
did, yeah, it did make a trellis and it did also put some simple hang. I think this is much more adherent to what we want. So
Considered a good job.
yeah, yeah, I think so. So yeah, it kind of like just created this sort of trellis in this area and then created some hanging plants, and it's simple. So
Yeah.
I think it did do a good job. You know what? Let's also
Hmm.
try something interesting. Um, add a window
Hmm.
in the, I mean, I already mentioned that fits the design.
That
And let's
fits the
see.
design. Okay.
Yeah. So I already have my building and that it's still highlighted. And I already wrote like in the beginning to edit only the highlighted area and then just kind of like playing with the action that I wanted to do.
Okay. While waiting, I think we still have one more question to go.
Ah, yeah, true.
Can ComfyUI integrate with other web-based models for automation workflows? Is that the same question that we have already answered or not?
I don't can I
What do you
integrate
think?
with other web. Yes, I think so. Like it's I think it's maybe the same question but worded
Hmm.
differently. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because it
Oh
talks about automation.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, yeah, like it is by heart also like
mhm.
a very, very much like automation based. So you just collect everything that you want and you can automate the process. You can also batch render. Like you can have a folder with all the images you want to render, and then you can just like batch process renderings. Uh, Actually, similar
And
to this one, for example, like where we had like different views and then we render these views according to like, let's say, these sorts of like screenshots, and then you can end up
mhm.
having stuff like this. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Paul says that I find it weird that yet the AI models cannot understand metric system. So what would they understand?
I would assume like maybe more of the measurement system in the US where it was mostly trained, but I don't know. I haven't actually tested it with like precise measurements, which would be a very interesting experiment actually to make to kind of like find a way to very much like find a specific experiment that highlights if it understands the metric system or not. But I would say, just generally speaking, I don't think that AI is a method that you should rely on when it comes to measurements, precise
With,
measurements,
yeah,
because
and
it's
units.
true, because more or less the whole training process works on image features, but never precise measurements of things. Maybe there is part of the data that includes something like this, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's that accurate. But maybe not. I don't know. Haven't tested.
I think the whole visualization process using generative AI models, it's about like when we have a spatial design, it's always
Yeah,
about using the reference from human figures and animals, or trees, that's just to depict the images from the reference or from the data set,
yeah,
just to estimate how actually the spatial should look like. So I think it's
yeah,
it's much more like referring proportionally to something rather than to,
yeah.
that's why in my experience I will not put too much like measurements saying like 3 by 3. I don't think it works so well in this case. How about you?
I would assume not. I would assume that it wouldn't be able because it would have to kind of gauge the kind of measurements of what it sees, and then it has to reference in how much
Hmm.
a 3 meter, maybe, I don't know, like board of wood has to be accordingly.
Yeah.
But yeah, but maybe it also is a linguistic thing because it's trained more in the US. So maybe it understands more like the inch and foot and so forth rather than the meter and centimeter and the millimeter. So yeah,
Yeah, so it's so great in this session to have Maggot's input on all of these gems about ComfyUI.
thank you.
And I think let me share a little bit about the course today. So we still have 5 minutes to go. And I would just go through very quickly about the course. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
So coming back to the studio course that we are introducing by Lighthouse Academy with two of us as the instructors. Actually, we are looking for you, designers, anyone, professionals or students who are ready to bring AI into the early design stage, and also visualization specialists that you want when you want faster iterative pipelines, or actually do you want to explore structured workflows, seeking for professional development and 3D visualizations. So you do not need to know a lot like coding Python, or you don't need to be an expert. You just need curiosity, a working laptop, because it's kind of like we are not going too deep on asking you to have a very strong GPU power, things like that. But we just want your curiosity to work together. And do you have a desire to build? And also, in last session, I just go it quickly. If you want to watch a replay, welcome. We are talking about using two things: the large language model and image generation models. Nowadays, I mean the latest models, we explore so much that we want to bring together these two things to become a cognitive design partner. And that's what actually we have gone through in the last session. We want to have all this, want to make using some of the AI models to generate images that can combine them into some sort of narratives with these perspectives, and also that we explore much more deeper into Nano Banana Pro, especially from my side, that we want to explore something like using one image or something like a base image, whether it's a doodle or a sketch. We want to develop into a journey, a user journey, and also like exploring more and more in spatial quality of from one image. We go deeper into the exteriors or interiors. We prompt it. We try to stress test all the models if we have enough of time, of course. And also, like, even when you talk about, okay, are we going to do something really, a real project? In this case, like I've done something, an experiment called Fill the Gap. So we have something like a real situation. In this case, like a narrow gap between two buildings, and we want to use something like a method called the master's lens protocol, borrowing a master's idea into how to build something in between of a gap. This is very architectural. It's not just visualization. We're not just doing renderings. And also a little bit about visualizations with architectural logic. Not so much in the matured way yet, but we are still experimenting like scientists. Oops, wait just a moment. I just get in again. So maybe we'll also talk a little bit about build an app if you have enough images and you want to explore more on design styles. Okay, and also I have a QR code here. If you are you want to look into my Nano Banana Pro guide, you can just scan this QR code and get to my Gumroad and download this for free. Okay, so these are the things actually why are we trying to guide you to use a hero shot and build the whole journey of the architecture story. Okay, we are talking about the style consistency and not about the spatial consistency. So we have to make it clear. Okay, we are exploring styles. If not, we are going back to the convention. It is much better to go back to the conventional way of doing 3D modeling. All right. Okay, this is it. Yeah, so all the shots. So a lot of ways actually we can explore focusing areas, you know. So these are the experiments that we've done. And also, again, back to the 5 sessions of this course, this cohort is going to be like into 3 weeks. We have it in 3 weeks, and week 1 actually we have the conceptual design and ideation pipelines, like just now I've showed you in the slides. And this will be mainly guided by me. So we have the text to concept idea and visuals, and also refinement, editing, advanced style loops. And in week 2, we will have maggot into all the ComfyUI essentials and advanced control, consistency, and rendering. And after that, we will let students to work together in a studio environment, because we have a mirror board and we can paste all the visuals, all the concept things, and the big canvas and large canvas. Everyone can visit, everyone can look at somebody's works, you know, and we can talk about that. It's like a remote, very fun thing, but it's an online remote studio, not a creating session, but it's a sharing session. We want to see how good we are, how much actually we are improving from each other. So the final picture in studio critic will be like in the work tree. So we will see all the showcases and give our feedbacks. And of course, the playground is, you can see it's very simple, a studio-based learning model, hands-on sessions. We build full design workflows with all the templates that we'll provide to you, or we build it from scratch. So one side, we'll look at the web UI platforms, the other side with ComfyUI on mirror board collaboration. Okay, so you will walk away with things like templates, prompts, guides, workflows, project presentation, or even Lighthouse Academy will provide certifications. And also, good news is you get access to Run Diffusion as an official course partner after you finish the course. So this is what actually a very big work together collaboration between these two, Lighthouse Academy and Run Diffusion. And also feedback from the studio directors, and not only us, maybe we'll have someone externally, I don't know yet, but hopefully, yeah, we have some professionals coming in. And also the design asset that you could win you further development. So that's really almost, yes, completely all about that. So thank you very much. And I will just stop sharing my screen and come back to here. So we are already 3 minutes over, but we are happy if you still have maybe a little question, not to not to make our life difficult.
You guys have one more question. If there is 2 more questions, that's it.
So, but welcome to post any questions. If we are not active here, you know, anyway, you can find us on LinkedIn or so. Okay, yes,
I
there's
see.
one more. Does the course include access to the tools, Nano Banana, Midjourney, and all the other tools? What do you think, Megan?
So, that's the tool access. Okay. For Nano Banana Midjourney, That's actually a very good question. I will have to actually ask operations about this because the thing about, let's say, Midjourney and Nano Banana and all the other tools, these are unfortunately like multiple companies and they have their own sort of like API.
Yeah.
But what we can consider is that we can maybe use, because from ComfyUI side, it's kind of actually a hub. So you can kind of like use ComfyUI to do the communication and it's all kind of processed from one source. We will
Mhm.
consider maybe like, yeah, I can maybe talk with operations to see if it's doable, but I don't think it would be actually plausible to do, let's say, access with all of these different companies because these are like completely
Yeah,
different.
we are not going to like having so much of like access to multiple aggregators, we call that. But for sure
Hmm.
that we Lighthouse Academy is going to offer free access for Run It. I think
And I
that's
think I
yeah,
think it should work actually.
yeah,
Like from
it
there, they
should
should
work.
kind
Yeah.
of process
So
it in one hub.
yeah, don't you don't have to worry about all the access to what because when these aggregators or the platforms are needed in the course, we will provide that. So don't worry about that. If you have any questions, just come to us. So we want to provide you something like a ready environment that you can just jump in because I think they are most of the platforms are included in the course fees.
Hmm. I think
Okay.
so too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
So
so maybe just like a quick question from I would assume
there's
Muhammad
one more. Yeah.
Arsam. Yeah.
Mhm.
So what is this course designed for? I am currently at zero. I think we switched jobs. Like now I'm reading the comments and now you're answering. I'm currently I'm
It's
currently
fine.
at zero. Yeah. He says I'm currently at zero level. I'm assuming zero or zero level.
Zero.
And would it be appropriate for me? I like
You
from my point of view, absolutely. Like because it's going to be designed from like as an introduction, and then we're going to showcase the tools, and it's up to you to feel if it's your kind of like style or not. So
you are Muhammad Asam, you are the best fit for us because we are looking for beginners like you.
true. Like it's built like the course is built so that it can be a very introductory sort of
Yeah.
course to all that's going on right now. So yeah, I would say go for it. And there's no such thing as zero level, man. It's just like you'll definitely already have like you will come
Hmm.
and you'll have your own kind of like thoughts and inspiration that you're going to be bringing to all of these tools that we're going to be using, and you will know that it's not gonna like once you get to know the logic behind it, it
Yeah.
becomes more natural over time.
So I will just paste the link one more time. So for all to get to access it and look at the courses that Lighthouse Academy is offering. If you have any questions that you're unclear with what actually you need, but before that, I want to say that all the platforms actually, if we need it in the course, usually they are already provided to you. And I think the cohort will be opening, I think it will be starting at the 15th of January. So if
Mhm.
you want to register or you want or you have any questions before the registration, please drop an email or I think an email or contact I think on the website on Lighthouse Academy. Just throw them an email and then someone will come to you and give you all the advices that you need.
True, true.
Okay, so yeah, it was a very fruitful session with you, Margaret, and I think
Thank you.
we hope that we have fun today a little bit, but what we hope actually is more fun in the studio course soon.
Oh yeah, like please guys, come on over.
Hmm.
You can yeah, June, you posted the link. Perfect. Come on over to
Yeah.
the link. Check out the course. If you think
Hmm.
it's interesting, come on in. It's gonna be fun. And this is my motto. If it's not fun, then don't bother.
Okay, so I think there are no more questions, so I will stop recording now.